Welcome to our June 2025 membership meeting. We have a special meeting for you. It's our Mayoral Candidate Forum. My name is Madhavi Reddy. I'm the Executive Director of CDAD, the Community Development Advocates of Detroit. If you don't know who we are, CDAD is Detroit's membership organization for the community development ecosystem. Many of you are members. Our members are community development organizations, block clubs, intermediaries, other nonprofits. We have a bunch of coalition partners that we work with to make sure that the fabric of Detroit's neighborhoods stay whole, and that we support the hard work of the folks who work in neighborhoods across the city. I'm going to stop talking, but I just wanted to ask one question before I turn it over to our Policy Director, Anthony Eid. Is there anyone from the press here today? All right, thank you, welcome. So we have one friend from the press. I just have a personal practice of letting everyone know that there's media here in case that's comfortable or not comfortable for you, but there's one member of the media, welcome. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anthony Eid, who's the CDAD Senior Policy Director, to talk a little bit about our policy work.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Madhavi. Good morning, everyone.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you all for joining us this morning at today's membership meeting. We've got a special one today, the Mayor's Candidate Forum for the primary election. So my name is Anthony Eid. I'm the Senior Director of Public Policy here at CDAD. And I'd love to welcome you all here today on behalf of our organization, the leading voice in Detroit's community development sector. Detroit's about to change, folks. We're about to get a new mayor for the first time in 12 years. The questions you hear today were created with the voices and experiences of you, our members, in mind, ranging from community development organizations, block clubs, and the everyday Detroiter who's out here trying to make our city more just and build a thriving community. Our goal here is to elevate the issues that matter most to you. To guide us through this morning's event, I'm proud to introduce Rihanna Stewart, who serves as the Detroit Initiatives Manager with Capital Impact Partners, and also serves as the chairman of our board over at CDAD. Finally, I can't stress enough, this is an example of participation in civics. Forums like this help build an informed voter base, but that only matters if you make it to the polls and vote. So who knows when the election is? Shout it out. August 5th. So we hope you take the information you hear today, let it inform your vote, and go from there. With that said, I'd like to give a thank you to the candidates for being here today, and introduce Rihanna.
All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Wow, nice to see all you friendly faces, and excited for this conversation. And thank you to CDAD for hosting and putting this all together. Here's just a quick overview of the agenda for this afternoon or morning. We're right on the cusp between both. I'm gonna slide through over here. Before we get started with our questions, I wanted to just go over really quickly the forum rules and guidelines, just so that we do have a productive and respectful conversation today. There are 9 rules and guidelines that I just want to reiterate before we dive into these questions. First of all, this is a forum. This is not a debate. Each candidate will be given an equal opportunity to respond to the questions asked. There will be no rebuttals or direct exchanges between the candidates today. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for introductions, which we'll start with in a moment, and 1 minute for final thoughts at the end. We do have a timekeeper here in the middle, Joanna, who will kind of give us a cue when your time is up for that question. So just keep an eye, but if you all aren't able to see her, I will notify and let you all know. During the Q&A, like I already said, candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to each question, and Joanna will provide those visual cues when you have 30 seconds remaining, and then when the time is up. Only one candidate may speak at a time. And most importantly, to foster a respectful and inclusive space, we ask that all participants avoid personal attacks, harmful language, or hate speech of any kind. We take that very seriously here at CDAD. We promote an inclusive and welcoming environment, so we want to welcome you all to join in on that rule with us as well. Please do not interrupt others during their response or while I'm speaking. I will enforce time limits and maintain the flow of discussion if folks are going over time. And last but not least, CDAD does reserve the right to end a candidate's remarks if they violate any of the rules that I went over, or if you are significantly going over time. I hope all of that is clear, and let's go ahead and dive into introductions. So I'm going to just start with the order that we have up here on the board. There are some microphones on the table for you all as candidates. I do ask that you please share those microphones amongst each other, but let's go ahead and we'll start with, is Jonathan Barlow here? Yes, you are. All right, we will start with Jonathan Barlow. Please give us your introduction.
Good morning.
Morning.
Come on, y'all can do a little bit better than that. Good morning.
Good morning.
As you all know, hold on, let me ask you this. How many of you all heard about me before? Just raise your hand. Okay. We're making it somewhere. The first form I had about 2 hands. I'm John Barlow.
Hey, John.
Good morning, Fred. I'm the one who actually comes down here to TechTown. I'm working with several founders now. I'm the one who loves Detroit enough to actually still be here rather than laying on a beach or doing something else. I'm the one who sat behind the scenes, worked at Central Derby in Spain, coached basketball, knows how to create workforce development pipelines for not only youth, but our adults, and knows what industries and jobs and companies to bring here. I'm that guy. But I'm also the one who's changed legislation without being elected, was one of the youngest to run for city council in 2009, and has quietly sat behind the scenes until it's time to change history, and now is the time. My experience tracks anyone that you could possibly put up in comparison. I do it in multiple markets. No one can talk about going down to Atlanta and doing things with both Republicans and Democrats. I can give you the evidence, I can give you the track record, but what I don't want you to do is this. Commit again to insanity. The system is not fixed. It hasn't been fixed since I ran for city council 15 years ago. And anything that has been done in policy or otherwise has not filled in the gaps that keeps on helping, allowing families to fall through. And so I just want to say thank you all for being here, and just thank you all for having me. I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna keep on chugging along. Our friend James Craig is not here at the moment, so we are gonna move on to Fred Durhal III. Please give us your introduction. Let us know who you are.
Yes, good morning to you all. Detroit City Council member Fred Durhal. I represent the 7th District in the city of Detroit, and I am running to be your next mayor of the city of Detroit. Prior to serving on the Detroit City Council, I served 2 terms in the Michigan legislature. My first term, I served as the Assistant Democratic Leader of the House. My second term served as the Ranking Democrat over House Appropriations, and then left there, went to work for the Michigan State Housing Development Authority for 2 years, helping folks get access to home ownership as well as affordable housing across the state, and then ran for City Council, where I chair Budget, Finance, and Audit Standing Committee, the Vice Chair of Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee, and I chair the Gun Violence Task Force, Returning Citizens Task Force, Retiree Task Force, and Disability Task Force. We are running for mayor because we are in a critical moment in our city's history. We have come a long way, but we still have a very long way to go. And whether we're talking about commercial corridors, where we're talking about more affordable housing, or continue to making our community safe here in the city of Detroit, we're going to need somebody that has experience. I am the only candidate that can say that they have served on the state level as well as the city level. And you will need that experienced leadership for continued growth here in the city of Detroit, and we'll be asking for your support on August 5th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to keep on moving along and welcome Joel Haashiim.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Joel Haashiim, probably the least known candidate. However, I have the empowerment platform for our community. I graduated Cooley High in '69, started my first business at 20 years old, been in the energy business, retail business, wholesale distribution, energy company, trucking company, alternative building concept companies, been around the world, did 15 business/trade delegations, taken the largest trade delegation out of Michigan, 34 U.S. or Detroit-based companies, GM, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Comerica Bank, etc., over to the Middle East. When we took GM over to the Middle East, they were doing less than $1 billion. 2024, they did $30 billion off of our initiative. We're 23 years in building concepts, understanding I'm the candidate who's thinking about bringing in a diverse economy, utilizing a coordinary economy, bringing in tech and the latest manufacturing. I'm introducing an industrial plan for housing here in the city of Detroit, giving the people, the residents, an opportunity to have ownership and produce over 100 years of work for Detroit city residents to work in manufacturing of homes, creating 10,000 Detroit resident jobs. I'm that businessman. Detroit is a corporation, and a corporation is a business.
All right, thank you. Continuing to move on, we're going to welcome Saunteel Jenkins.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm standing because I'm short. I don't want you to see me. I am Saunteel Jenkins. I'm a proud, lifelong Detroiter. I've been serving this community for over 30 years, starting with Focus Hope when I was just 17 years old. That was my first full-time job. I'm a social worker. I have my bachelor's and master's in social work. And I have over 10 years of local legislative experience, from being a staffer and chief of staff to the late great Mary Sheffield, to being a council member, to being council president. And I have over 10 years of experience as a CEO. So I understand how to draft budgets, pass budgets, but I also understand how to manage and implement budgets and what it takes to meet payroll and get things done on the ground. I am, I am experienced inside and outside of government, nonprofit, for-profit, government, education, and I've owned a small business. So I understand the cross-sections that are needed to continue to move our city forward. Excuse me, I'm also trying to hold on to my voice. I understand what it will take to continue to move our city forward in challenging times and in good times. And that's what our next mayor will have to know, because they are going to face both. As my friend Fred Durhal said, we're gonna have some challenging times ahead. So our next mayor will have to hit the ground running and know how to lead on day one. And I have the experience to do that. I'm Saunteel Jenkins, and I look forward to further conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to continue on over here with Todd Perkins.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Todd Perkins, and I am standing because I'm used to standing as the only lawyer in this panel, or a panel of candidates. This is what I do. What I do is represent, and what I do is advocate, and what I do is look at the people and look at their eyes and understand what their needs are. But let me tell you a little bit about myself, because this is what this is about. You are assessing who the person is going to take you to the next level, who is going to be that individual that can lead. Because all the things that people talk about that they can do, I've already done. As a lawyer for government, as a lawyer for the city of Detroit, as a lawyer for individuals who are in and around these campaigns, that's what I've done. But that's not who I am. I'm an individual who was born and raised in the city of Detroit. I'm the fourth of 6 boys. I grew up on the North End, and I call the North End my home today. I was an individual who went to U of D High School. I then left away, went out east to Dartmouth College, and I came back and I went to U of D Law School, or University of Detroit Mercy Law School. And shortly after that, when I graduated, I began the work. Well, actually, I'll tell you, I began the work before that. I began the work when I graduated from college. I met with Coleman Young, and he sent me to volunteer in the Democratic Party. What was interesting about that is that I saw what leadership looked like. And what you have is a dearth, a lack of leadership. You have elected officials who could be effective and managers, but you need leadership. At this crossroads that we're at, you're gonna need someone who can pull all those things together. When you see that, that's what you're assessing. Again, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I'm an individual who loves the city of Detroit, and the city of Detroit has loved me back. I'm the only self-made CEO who built something from nothing to a multi-million-dollar firm, and that's what I intend to do, and build on what's here in Detroit, and build it to its prominence that we once knew before, that you hear about from your parents, you might not have seen in your lifetime. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And our seventh candidate we have here today, Mary Sheffield.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It is such an honor to be here. I want to first start off by thanking CDAD for the amazing, let's give them a round of applause, the amazing work that you all do. I think back to when I first got elected and a lot of the legislation that I've been able to accomplish, whether it's the inclusionary housing ordinance, the neighborhood improvement fund, right to counsel. You all have been steadfast in your approach to sound policy, and I would not be who I am had it not been for organizations like CDAD, who has been a true voice for everyday Detroiters in sound policy. So I just want to thank you all for being a partner in the last 12 years while I've been serving on the city council. So born and raised in Detroit, grew up on 7 Mile and Livernois area. I have been serving Detroit since I was 14 years old. I started preaching actually at the age of 14, and my entire life has been shaped around serving the great city of Detroit. I was the youngest ever elected to city council at the age of 26, and I'm very proud that once I got elected, I just didn't hold that position. I actually got to work and got things done for Detroit. I have a record of approving over 26 pieces of legislation called the People's Bills that came directly from the ground up. Anything from housing to neighborhood economic empowerment to livable wages. I've definitely listened to the voice of everyday people and responded with sound policy. I am running for mayor because, quite frankly, there's more work to be done. We know that the city has moved forward in a positive direction, but there's still a lot of outstanding issues that we must focus on. I am committed to addressing, number one, housing, ensuring that we're continuing to build safe, quality, affordable housing in Detroit and a path to home ownership, that we're improving our educational outcomes for our students, and that we're investing back into our neighborhoods and rebuilding our communities, because we know if we want people to live in this city, not just work and play and grow our population, we have to invest back into our neighborhoods. And I will continue to talk about more of my plan as we move forward. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you all for those introductions and giving us a little snippet into who you are and what you're bringing to the table. We are going to start diving into our questions. We have a couple of different areas that we're hoping to get through this afternoon. I keep doing that. And just a reminder, you all will have 90 seconds to respond to each of these questions. I will oscillate between starting at both sides of the table, so I will let you know where we're starting and we'll move down the line. All right, so given that, we're going to start off with affordable housing. So Detroit's housing crisis continues to displace longtime residents. What specific steps will your administration take to preserve and increase deeply affordable housing for residents at or below 60% AMI? Do you support adding a line item in the city budget for nonprofit developers who build and rehab housing for 60% or under? We're going to start down at the end over here with Joel Haashiim.
Good question. 23 years in building concepts. We learned how to build quality homes or buildings for less, utilizing alternative materials. We will set up a Detroit City manufacturing, create 10,000 jobs. We will put billions of dollars throughout our communities. We will add to the diverse economy so that the communities become empowered. We will introduce a 35 to 50-year mortgage so that people can afford the homes. Due to inflation, we understand the high cost of building today. We will bring in financial programs to help that population in poverty move into the middle class, be able to afford a home. We will put billions of dollars into the community. This factory, understanding that Michigan, Ohio, Indiana needs housing. So the people who have these jobs in Detroit, will give them ownership and opportunities to own into this factory as well. And so we will work and put to work the real estate developers, builders, skilled trades, etc., to work.
Thank you. All right, Fred, we'll move on over to you.
Thank you, and yes, we will continue to build more affordable housing here. One of the things that I'm most proud of my time on council is sponsoring the pilot fast track ordinance, which is now slated to create over 1,400 new affordable housing units per year here in the city of Detroit, while locking developers into 15 years of compliance as well as 15 years of affordability. And when they want to come back, they have the option to renew for another 15 years, which kind of ends up being like a traditional 30-year mortgage that still allows that affordability and compliance where you don't see rents rise as fast. And that's important for a couple reasons. One, anything that is below 60% AMI now does not require council approval. And so we are steadfast and kind of put on autopilot the creation of affordable housing units under 60% AMI here in the city of Detroit. But two, it gives opportunity to a lot of minority and smaller developers. We have a few in this room today. And one of the biggest problems that they have are access to capital. So when they go into the banks, they are not able to get these loans. And they have to go through CDFIs. And so we will continue to expand tools and open that up to ensure that more smaller and minority developers have access to build affordable housing. But second, yes, we will look at creating a fund that will help support smaller and minority developers on the back end relative to gap financing so they can make their projects come into fruition and that the but-for of creating those developments are decreased.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins.
Thank you. First, yes, we will support affordable housing. One major part of my plan is a strategic master plan for the entire city that is broken out by districts. We will take the land use planning that is underway now and layer that with a housing plan, a transit plan, an education plan, a safety plan. But for this housing plan, we will utilize affordable housing bonds, which other cities like Chicago, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Baltimore have used to create more affordable housing as housing costs have risen in those cities. We will utilize those housing bonds here in the city of Detroit to provide creative and flexible financing for developers and focus on small developers, Black and brown developers across the city of Detroit to create financing and low income housing, affordable housing for renters and owners across the city of Detroit. For renters and owners across the city of Detroit, we will utilize it for down payment assistance, to cover pre-development costs, to help with low cost or no cost loans and financing so that there are more creative and flexible ways for developers to access funding and capital to build more affordable housing and rehab affordable housing across the city of Detroit. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right, we're gonna move over to the side. We'll start off with you, Mary.
Thank you. So I'm a firm believer that housing is a human right, and I've led with that value my entire time serving on the city council. Whether it's creating the city's first ever inclusionary housing ordinance that has created thousands of rental units throughout Detroit, or creating the city's first ever housing trust fund. Now this fund is special because it can only be utilized to fund the income levels that you just mentioned, 60% or below, and even at 30% and below. The problem is that we have not fully funded the Housing Trust Fund. And so under my administration, you will see a greater investment in the Housing Trust Fund, which is a tool that sets aside funding to directly fund low-income housing. Also, I think it's important to mention, we approved the city's first ever down payment assistance program under this council's leadership. 700 new homeowners in the city of Detroit under this particular, that's beautiful, this particular council. And so we have to continue that. I think as we talk about affordable housing, we also have to ensure that we're building based on the needs of Detroiters. So not only are we just doing 1 and 2 bedroom, but do we need more housing that is for women and children? Do we need larger units? And so I will be really honing in the actual need that our Detroiters have and ensuring that we're building that based on the need of Detroit, using and leveraging the Housing Trust Fund as one tool to provide that gap financing that oftentimes developers need.
Thank you. All right, we will keep on moving on to Mr. Barlow.
Gotta make this quick. About a year ago, I started calling different developers in the city. Got a chance to call Mr. Carrington, and he sent me on a whole other path that got me more information. Last night, I had a meeting with Fisher Holcomb. I had a pastor tell me that every time he's presented a project to take over 1 square block, is one property that he doesn't get, and it's in the land bank, and they won't give it to him. But then I have other pastors like Zion Hope, Pastor Curtis Grant, and others trying to build starter home villages called Victory Village and others, and they keep on getting blocked, and no one will go hold their hand. Ultimately, everything that has been said can possibly work, but the question really becomes, when it comes to affordable housing, is it affordable based off of the model that's being put on us, or are we creating our own model? We could have encouraged and forced all developers to make a more tiered system to account for those being left out. We could have made our own scaled AMI, but we keep on allowing political platitudes to come around every season, and they say they did this, but then where's the proof to show for it? You need someone who can do exactly what Brother Joel said, which is bring in manufacturing for modular and fabricated homes in order to boost the economy and to boost other developers into being able to do more for the city. You need a businessman.
Thank you. All right, we'll round out affordable housing with Todd Perkins.
Thank you. And moving on into this, just where he left off, I believe you need a lawyer. I believe you need a lawyer who understands not only the question. The question is a very simple question, is will we use a part of the budget to support nonprofits? That's the simple answer, absolutely. Absolutely, because we have money, even though we all understand, and I believe that this election cycle is, people are so interested in it because you don't know. Because you know we're gonna have to do more with less. We're gonna have to provide the same services so that we don't have to, one of the things is in affordable housing, we absolutely need it, but we also have to be concerned because we're in a crisis. We're in a homeless crisis. We have, I heard a statistic, and I still haven't, it shocked me to indicate that it's over 6,000 homeless children if they qualify under that category. And so that is at a rate which is unacceptable. Also, between 2000 and 2020, 295,000 Black Detroiters were displaced and left the city. So we need to understand why that is. And we can understand some of why it is, but you absolutely need affordable housing. There are tools that are already available to bring developers to task, but also to help them with the gap financing. Because we can all agree the cost of building is more expensive today than before, and we have to make sure to incentivize those developers in the neighborhoods throughout the recreated, under the Perkins plan, a recreated master plan for the building in the city and looking at the most affected areas. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on into talking about community land trusts, also known as CLTs. CLTs are a proven tool for ensuring long-term affordability and community control of land. What role do you see the city playing in expanding community land trusts, and how will you ensure they are prioritized in the city's development strategy? This time we're going to start down over with you, Todd.
Thank you. And so the Community Land Trust is also a Detroit Land Bank. It's supposed to be a community land trust. But I believe that we can all agree that it hasn't operated for the benefit of community. There are some positive stories, but there are more negatives that you'll hear about it. That the community bank, the Detroit Land Bank is for developers. It's for people who are high net earners. Because I have done so much pro bono work for individuals who are trying to build homes and build families who work with the Detroit Land Bank, who give unreasonable timelines that and then the threat of losing that property after having not only paid for the property, but also invested their hard-earned cash in order to put their families in those homes and to live in those homes. These are not individuals who are building just for the sake of building for profit. They're building for homes. That's what the idea and the spirit of a community, the words itself, are community land trust. And that's what it's about. So I want to make that more flexible. I want to make it more community oriented. And you need to hear from the community. And it has to be specific. Also, you want to be poignant in the areas that are most affected, to be more focused on making sure that we get people in those areas, so that in the city of Detroit being over 30% vacant land, that's just not acceptable. We need to start accessing this property, and I don't want to hear stories about people who are landowners who are having problems accessing land that's even adjacent to theirs, or just building a home for their family. It's unacceptable as it stands right now.
Thank you. All right, we'll continue down this table. Mr. Barlow.
I'm so glad that you jumped right into CLT, because I didn't get a chance to really finish my answer and include CLTs in the last answer, which affordable housing and community land trusts kind of play hand in hand. If you can't get the property off the market or at the market level and keep it there, then you're not going to allow time for the community to catch up and take advantage of those different opportunities. Nor are developers being able to really get in and play at a level to where they can be successful and win. Listen, you will hear a lot of frameworks or a lot of themes or a lot of campaign slogans, but I've yet to hear anybody come up to me and say, "Did you see so-and-so's plan?" You all are the bosses, and you all are the supervisors. You all really are the CEOs and the board. You are the board members. Let's put it to you like this. You all are the board members. It's 700,000 of you all. And if you all elect me, I'll be the CEO, but I'll be reporting to you all. That means that you all should always have the most transparent and be able to hold anyone accountable. And so what I want to tell you, say to that is simply this. Everybody always talks about a plan. I have an 11-page plan on my site that covers all of this, that really gets homes up and going in a way that we can really develop them and fast track them. Nobody has been able to hold any developer hand and fast track them.
That is going to be time, Jonathan. Thank you. We're going to continue on with Mary.
Thank you.
Community land trust.
100% support community land trust wholeheartedly. I think it's a great model. A couple of things. One, in this last budget, and I want to give a big credit to my colleague, Councilmember Johnson, who has really led this discussion on community land trust. Support her wholeheartedly. There probably will be a forthcoming ordinance. That's one way we do it, through policy. Secondly, in this upcoming budget, this past budget we just approved, we significantly added money for the first time to pilot community land trust in the city of Detroit. A couple of $1 million we actually put towards it. So I think the city can support it, one, by financing it, putting money behind it, also acquiring land and properties to support it. And then through the land bank, I've met with several nonprofit organizations who are interested in community land trust that have had issues acquiring property through the land bank. So easing those policies and allowing for organizations to have access to land to develop, I think is important. Anytime we have a method or a tool or a vehicle that provides community the ability to develop our communities through affordable housing and empower them to do that, I will wholeheartedly support. I also want to say in my last 30 seconds that we have to talk more about home ownership. Under my plan and under my administration, we will focus on affordable housing, but we're also going to focus on how we build more infill housing in Detroit. Single family homes, 1,000 is my goal under my first term, which I know it can be done. There's models in my district now, but we got to get back to a city of homeowners as well in Detroit.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on over to this side of the table around community land trust. We'll start here with you, Saunteel.
Yes, I would support community land trust. And it would be a part of that strategic master plan that I talked about and the housing plan. I think this is an area where the city can partner with the philanthropic community and community-based organizations to be strategic about where we are. I'm trying to hold on to my voice. Where we can be strategic about where we're acquiring land and ensuring that there is affordable housing for every population in our city, whether it's families, single people, aging people. We can utilize community land trust to be, yes.
Thanks, sorry, you're losing your voice. All right, we'll continue on with Fred.
Thank you. And yes, I support community land trust. As mentioned before, in this past budget cycle, we put close to $4 million into this past fiscal year's budget to ensure that we were having funding for community land trust. So big shout out to Councilmember Johnson again, who has been an advocate for that. The issue with community land trust though, however, we have to set our community organizations and associations up for success. And so that's better connectivity, better access to land, and opportunity. So when we talk about re-examining our community benefits ordinance, there may be opportunity to put community land trust in there to ensure that communities, the benefits that those community organizations and those affected areas of development are receiving are actually getting land. I am a firm believer of this. When we talk about building generational wealth here in the city of Detroit, it's not just by income. We need ownership. It's the old 40 acres and a mule type of saying, where the mule was there to keep the lights on and food on the table, but owning the acres, owning the land, you can pass that on from generation to generation. And that's the type of environment we want to foster here in the city of Detroit, one that leads to a path to home ownership, but also gives community access to the land in the neighborhoods in which they live in. But we also have to connect them to the developers, because we want to make sure that they are able to complete those projects from those community land trusts. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll round up community land trust with you.
Yes,
There you go.
I had to stand up on this question because I think first and foremost, we need to understand how much money we're talking. We're talking over $200 billion, people. $200 billion. I'm for community land trust, but understand we don't want a CBO. We want a true benefits agreement that's enforceable in court. CBO is not enforceable. Why is this important? I want Detroiters to own and have a part of this $200 billion. If these developers and skilled trades are coming from outside the city, does not benefit Detroit residents. We're looking at the money. This is about the money, people. $200 billion. And every time the oligarchs and the rich get control, then they change the game and the community comes up short. Do you want the oligarchs and the rich to keep getting paid? Or do you want the community and the people that live in the city of Detroit to have those jobs, that money, and those billions of dollars circulating in our community? That's what this is about. We better wake up and understand that this is serious business. And if you let the corporate assets keep control with the oligarchs and the rich, we're going to end up zero, as we have done in the last 50 years. Look at our city.
Okay, that
look
is
what
going
has
to
happened.
be time. Thank you. All right, we are going to keep it moving. And I know some folks already brought this topic up, but we're going to talk about the Detroit Land Bank Authority. The Detroit Land Bank controls a significant portion of Detroit's land. What reforms would you implement to ensure more equitable access to the DLBA-owned properties and parcels for Detroit's community development organizations? I'm going to actually start on the inside here, so Mary, we'll start with you there.
All right, the Land Bank Authority. Where do we begin? So, I think for me, I think we should start to look at ways, and we have done this. This budget, we drastically cut the Detroit Land Bank Authority subsidy because their inventory is starting to decrease, and we have heard for quite some time, and I deal with residents all the time who have issues with access to property. So a couple of things. One, the mayor has some control, a lot more than I think what people think, because we appoint members to the board. So we're going to ensure that those appointments are actually doing the work of what we want and ensuring that everyday Detroiters have access to property. Secondly, I think some policies can be reformed around accountability and transparency that gives greater access for community-based organizations, for everyday Detroiters to get access to those properties. And then lastly, I've talked about and would like to possibly see that we bring the remaining inventory back in-house through our planning and development department and utilize Detroit Land Bank Authority only for the legal authority that they have. But mostly bringing that back into planning and development gives us more control and authority as a council and as a city to run it as a department. Right now it's an authority, and because it is an authority, there's a lack of transparency and accountability. So my main thing again is greater access for Detroiters to get the properties, more access for community-based organizations. The holding of land, I think, also needs to change. There's a lot of areas where the land bank holds land and residents don't have access to that property. We want to ensure that those policies are more transparent and accountable.
That is going to be time. Thank you, Mary. All right, we'll continue on to Jonathan.
Don't start my time. Yeah, we're gonna stand up on this one because I can't let y'all commit to insanity. I went down to the land bank yesterday because that's the type of leader and CEO I am. If you look at my Facebook page, I spent, after being down there at 9 a.m., I didn't get seen till 9:40. It was 2 of us in the office. 2 people an hour every day doesn't get properties moved, and it definitely doesn't get Detroiters engaged and not deterred from the process. Y'all tracking me? Y'all following me? Who's ever got a house out the land bank? So I can only imagine what you all have gone through and what you all experienced. Ultimately, it should not be, first of all, going back to community land trust, I had to let everybody get their answers out because nobody said Janetta Hatchett. She's speaking in Chicago about community land trust right now. I sat on the board with her for the Lutheran churches maybe about 10 or 15 years ago. See, when you're a CEO and you know how to get things done, you don't wait in your seat on the whatever floor of the 11th floor of the Community building. You go to the people, you get down to the problem, and you understand where the nuances are so you can change them. They're holding property so you can't get them. Let's just be frank about it. Let's cut straight to it. They don't want to protect legacy Detroiters, and ultimately, I'm so glad that Brother Haashiim said exactly what he said because there's so much money to risk. Think about how much every last parcel of this city is worth. And they're letting it slip through your hands. They're letting it slip through our hands. We got to be owners here.
Thank you, Jonathan. All right, we're going to move on down to Todd around Detroit Land Bank Authority.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the question. This is a segue into what I started when we talked about community land trust. But I think unilaterally and almost objectively, we can agree that the land bank has not worked for the everyday Detroiter. It just has not. You know, when you hear Ms. Sheffield indicate, we recognize that they have blocks of land that they sequester for who? Not Detroiters, but developers and outsiders. Why are we not allowing that access to community organizations and individuals, Detroiters, native Detroiters, and those Detroiters that 295,000 that left? I want to have a policy that we're going to prioritize citizens and community organizations over development by large-scale organizations. I don't want to throw them out. I'm not anti-business, but I am pro-Detroiters. I am pro-community organizations. And that's the reformation that we're going to have to do from a policy perspective. And those are the things, to the extent that it is an authority, you understand there are legal means by which we can go. If they don't want to acquiesce and they don't want to move in the direction that the city wants them to move, we can force their hand, and we can do those things through going to court. And understanding that as a lawyer, I know the devil's in the details, as they say, but we also have to tell those individuals who acquire these properties and help them along the way. And so, besides financial education, but development education, and use sometimes those partnerships with developers with citizens. That's what a community land trust is. It's about community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move over to this side of the room. I'm going to start over here with you, Saunteel. I know, hope you're holding on to your voice still.
So first, I will say, when the first proposal came to council to turn all city land over to the land bank, and they only had a few hundred properties, I voted against it and pushed back and said, we need the land bank to show that they can properly manage what they have before we give them every city property. After I left council, that went out the window, and the land bank got all the city properties. So first of all, we have to look at what people have done and organizations have done as an indication of what organizations will do. Now, the land bank is in place, and it can be used and managed well to get some of the things that we want done, such as the community land trust. As it stands now, what has been said is true. The rules are not applied equally and evenly across the board. The rules for developers are different from the rules for CBOs, are different from the rules for residents, and we should make it easiest for the least of these. Because if it's easiest for the least of these, certainly the folks who have resources will be able to get through the process. And we have to utilize the land bank as a part of a larger plan for redeveloping the city and creating more affordable housing across the city. Whether it is infill housing, whether it is,
That is gonna be time. Thank you. We'll move on to Fred.
Thank you. So I know the land bank is the boogeyman, but I am not also going to tell you a fairy tale. It is a very necessary evil to have that authority right now. We cannot afford to bring that inventory back in-house. One, we have a difficult job helping residents get money for home repair here in the city of Detroit. And imagine if we had to maintain all the entire inventory of the Detroit land bank under our budget. It would put a significant strain on our budget. But I think what we can do is work to increase transparency, and that's why at council, we have now held up the MOU that we have not passed through yet, because we are working on amendments to ensure that the land bank works for everyday residents here in the city of Detroit. And so when we talk about what that looks like, we've got to be honest with ourselves. The majority of the parcels owned by the land bank right now are lots, not structures, they're lots. So when we're talking about accessing the neighborhoods to these lots, then my idea is, why don't we connect with developers who are already building up the neighborhoods, like a Candace Rucker, who I see here, who is over there building in our district and buying up parcels, but sometimes they're not contiguous. We need to work with developers to get access to those, so we start rebuilding neighborhoods, not just houses that are spotty here. And so that is kind of my idea, working with the land bank to ensure that we get that property into the hands of those who live here in Detroit, to those who want to develop here in Detroit and have already planted roots to do so.
Thank you. And we'll round up this topic with Mr. Haashiim.
Oh, well, the land bank has done so much damage to our community. It's turned people into refugees, hundreds of thousands of people. As mayor, I'll dismantle the land bank. There are other ways to manage land. There are other ways to deal with it. We do need more community control over the resources of Detroit. Here again, we see a tremendous amount of abuse and people who have suffered at the hands of city policy, the land bank, etc. We don't need the land bank. We can utilize other types of systems to allocate this land. The most important thing here is to make sure that the community benefits. The community is the most important thing. The people is the most important thing here. And the homes, if the land bank has 100,000 lots right now, just think of that. If the people's manufacturing company put those homes, and the city also gets a piece of that mortgage money by partnering with financial institutions, that puts billions of dollars into the city treasury, which allows for us to have a diverse economy. And at the federal level, we see all these cuts and everything that's taking place. We see a downsizing economy. We got to make the right decision.
That is going to be time. Thank you. I'm going to start here. All right, so we are halfway through our kind of topics, but we're going to keep chugging along. So next up, we're going to talk about Community Benefits Ordinance, or CBO. Detroit's CBO process has been widely criticized for lacking real power. What changes would you propose to strengthen the ordinance so that residents can negotiate and enforce meaningful community benefits from large-scale developments? I'm going to start here with you, Saunteel.
Thank you. This is a really complex question because there are so many things that need to be changed, not just in the community benefits ordinance, but the way we approach development in the city in general. One of the things that we often talk about in community benefits ordinances or in community benefits agreements is hiring Detroiters. Because we want to create jobs for Detroiters, and then companies come, they get tax benefits, they build, they open, and they don't hire Detroiters. And what's often cited is they couldn't pass the test. They're not qualified, they're not trained. If we know a development is coming and it's gonna take 2-3 years to build, that 2-3 years, we should be training and preparing Detroiters for those jobs. And then we take away the excuse that companies are using for not hiring Detroiters. We need to have stronger clawback provisions in our development agreements and take out things like, best efforts. Take out things like best efforts and will try, and require developers to meet the commitments that they've made. Or we're able to claw back those tax dollars that we've used from Detroiters. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we'll move on to Mr. Durhal.
Thank you. As mayor, we will work with council to reopen the community benefits ordinance. It does simply not work here. And we'll do that by establishing certain criteria in there. I'll give you an example. When developers come to a specific community, there may be an issue that really means a lot to them, and it's focused on. But you have 4 to 5 people that are sitting on the NAC at times that don't really represent or reflect what the entire community as a whole wants there. I think if we set a level of predictability of what communities can expect as well as developers can expect, then we create a healthy ecosystem. And so whether we're talking about neighborhoods that don't have a higher level of density, we just talked about a community land trust. We've got to rebuild neighborhoods. Maybe in areas like that, we set the criteria that if you don't have a high level of density, then we'll implement a community land trust in that agreement. And so there's opportunity. But even when we talk about the jobs, okay, we've got to start building those jobs now, creating that workforce now, not just waiting for the development to come. Because what's happening is that a lot of the developers, they do build into their pro forma not having the 51% of Detroiters that are hired. But I'd rather pay for it on the front end than the back end. And so if we are starting to build that workforce, even starting at high school, getting apprenticeship readiness programs and connecting our unions to these projects, I think we'll see a better workforce and we'll see more Detroiters hired.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Haashiim.
CBO, I guess we have a short memory. We forgot how the Illiges got a 35-year tax abatement. We forgot how Dan Gilbert and all these other corporations got these tax abatements. They took money from our schools, from our libraries. They didn't improve the quality of life for Detroiters. We don't need a CBO. We need a true benefits agreement enforceable in court to make sure that they keep their word to the community. They have not kept their word to the people. Year after year, they get these billion-dollar developments and we get left out talking about a CBO. A CBO is not worth the paper it's printed on if it's not enforceable. It must be enforced here in Detroit for people to get what they were promised. If you're going to continue to operate under a CBO, Detroiters are going to get the same thing they've been getting, zero. Zero, 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 zero. We need to think and remember the history of the CBO, the history of the land bank, and what has happened here in the city of Detroit. We need to remember and understand.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move over to this side of the table. Mary, I'm going to start with you. We're on community benefits ordinance.
Thank you. For my time, Scott.
All right. Thank you so much for this question. I do think it's important to remember the history. And this really started from a grassroots effort. And I'm very proud to know what side I stood on. And that was the original CBO, which came from community that created a legally binding agreement between community and the developer. That was the original intent that came from community. However, we had to divert, and we got what we got today. My commitment is a couple of things. One, I would like to reopen it. Two, I think the threshold is extremely high. Right now, it's $75 million before community and developer has to negotiate. There's been several conversations about why is it not lower. So you're telling me projects that are $30, $40, $50 million shouldn't have to sit down with community, I think that's unacceptable. So we will lower the threshold. Secondly, I think, we've had a lot of conversations with community about the length of time, the makeup of the board, how those processes can change. So I'm excited to learn more and work with community about how we can improve it. I think labor should have a seat at the table for our CBO process as well. And then lastly, I do think that more accountability and oversight of the enforcement mechanism of the CBO can be improved as well. The Neighborhood Advisory Council needs more support, whether it's technical assistance, whether it's training. You have everyday citizens who are coming to the table to do best for their community, but they don't have the support of the developers. Developers, they come knowing these things. And I think we have to empower the NAC really with the resources and technical assistance and support that they need as well.
Thank you, Mary. All right, we're gonna move over to Jonathan.
You all can't be serious. Brother Joel got you all on the right track. Let me go ahead and finish you off. Remember history. Think about how the Hudson building got there. Think about what we were supposed to receive based off of that developer who should have been attached to the CBO, because the CBO is for large-scale development. Community benefits agreements can take place with any business that moves into your community. The CBO doesn't recognize small businesses. That's why when you talk about where did it come from, I'm the one who made the most CBAs in the 2017 while I was bringing emerging industries here. It's quoted in Forbes magazine. You don't have to go far to see the track record. See, I want you to notice what just transpired here. They talked about CBO, they talked about community land trust, and then they also talked about the land bank. First of all, I got $1 million software that I can give over to the land bank to make everything transparent. But we don't have to give it to the land bank. Like he said, we can blow it up and create another one to transfer over some of those properties. You all heard that there's an MOU being formed with the land bank, or that they proposed something for the land bank before it got started. If you want to know why we're in this reason, you're looking at, they just tracked everything that was done wrong up until now that they were silent about. Who is the boogeyman since they want to bring it up? They've acted like Doug has been the boogeyman the whole time. And they don't speak up for what we need, and that's how we get in the spot that we are in, because they're taking our resources.
Thank you, Jonathan. All right, we're gonna round out community benefits ordinance with Todd.
Thank you. I just say that we have these problems with the community benefits organization or ordinance. We have to look at our administration, and we also have to look at our legislative arm, the city council. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. Why is it right now that we're talking about it now? Because it's an election cycle. This is something that we've known through and throughout, and it's been consistent. But it's a confluence of things that need to happen. But it first must start, when we talk about a community benefits organization, or ordinance, I keep on saying that, community benefits ordinance, it's very simple with that. You take may and your best efforts, and I'm gonna try, and you make that shall or will. And then you put behind that a penalty for non-performance, a penalty of clawback, a penalty of maybe you just don't do business with the city anymore. And that will force contrition. That will force people to act. It's like when I go to court. How do you promote better environments to corporations? Is you make them pay. That's the only thing that they understand. Whereas the community is at a loss. So what we have to do, and I agree with some of the other candidates, we have to bring more people to the table who are most affected by those community benefits ordinances and the action that takes place. So we need labor at the table. We definitely need our schools, and we definitely need our representatives of the library, because they're most affected. When we give away tax abatements or we give away tax credits, it comes out of their bottom line. So we have to have them at the table if we're going to be about community. Thank you. My time is up.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on and talk a little bit about Detroit demographics. So Detroit's population is growing for the first time in decades, as we all know. What will you do to make sure Detroit is a welcoming city for newcomers and long-term residents? I'm gonna start down here with Mr. Haashiim.
Yes, that's a great question. You know, in order for Detroit to grow, you have to have a diverse economy. You have to have what's happening today in today's world, in today's economy coming into Detroit. You have to make it an international city, a smart city, and you have to bring in those industries, those tech industries. that the world is operating on, the high level of the economy. If we don't do that, then you're not going to attract the right people. You're going to attract the people who have a lot of money and may basically use this as a second home, or if they're living here, but they won't contribute to the economy. This is the most important thing. You must contribute to the economy. For all of us to sit at the table of prosperity, you have to have those different revenues coming into your city treasury. And the only way to do that is to bring in those international and domestic companies. As long as you have land, water, and the ability to make cheap energy, you can bring prosperity into the city of Detroit. But if you don't have a holistic plan to bring in this diverse economy, and you're just going to rely on what's here, then it's going to become stagnant and it won't grow.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Durhal.
Thank you. People move to places for opportunity, whether that's opportunities for jobs, opportunity for education, or just the opportunity to build a family. We're going to be very focused on building a city that is for families again, but also an attractive city. We have to focus on regional transit here so we can attract more talent and retain the talent that we actually have. We've got to have more job creation here, so I agree. Yes, we need to diversify the industries that we have here in the city of Detroit and talk about tech, talk about mobility, talk about these jobs of the future and get our folks connected to these jobs. But we got to fix our educational system here. When we talk about building the workforce of the future or even attracting and retaining that talent, no one wants to start and build a family where they cannot send their child to school. And so we will be very focused on education as well, creating the Detroit Education Commission to work to create a path that leads to colleges and careers and not cages and caskets for our young folks here in the city of Detroit. Finally, what I would say is this. We've got to stay on the path of development that we are on right now. When we talk about creating jobs, Detroit has a big problem. Our values are rising, but our tax base is not growing. And that is what we're seeing here in the city of Detroit. So our general fund is not growing. So we don't have enough money to put back into the neighborhoods. We've got to create more revenue streams here in the city of Detroit. We'll do that by creating opportunity for jobs, opportunity for education, and opportunity for families.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on over to Saunteel.
Thank you. One of the first positions I will fill in my administration is a chief growth officer. Their focus will be to grow two things: to grow jobs and revenue, and to grow our population. At one point, when our population was growing, people were coming here for jobs. Everybody wanted to be in Detroit to work for the auto industry. We have to bring more jobs to Detroit, the jobs of today and tomorrow, and we have to make sure that we have a workforce who is trained and ready to go when those jobs get here. The other thing that people looked at when they came to Detroit is this was the city that had more single-family housing than any other place in America. You could come here and build your American dream in an affordable way. So we have to ensure that there is affordable housing for people at every level of the spectrum. If you're a young college graduate or a new married couple, we need affordable housing for you. If you're a mother with 5 kids, we need to have affordable housing for you, and no matter where you work. So it's bringing more jobs. It is creating an affordable place to live. And then we have to make sure that everybody is and feels safe in the city of Detroit. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on over to the side of the table. Mary, I'm gonna.
Let me be sure you did mention welcoming.
Correct, yeah. The question was, what will you do to make sure Detroit is a welcoming city for newcomers and long-term residents?
Thank you so much. So I want to start off by saying I think our strength is in our diversity in Detroit. And I think we all are cognizant and aware of the attack on the immigrant communities here in the city of Detroit. And I want to say on the record here, you know, that no one in our city shall have to live in fear and intimidation of being separated from their families. Fear of showing up to school and to work. And so I would always support any policies that protect, that support, that empower, that uplift all of our communities, particularly right now in these very difficult times, our immigrant communities. And so we have an Office of Immigrant Affairs that needs to be fully functioning and empowered to do the job that they do. And I just think that's important. Also, when we talk about growing our population, we all know it's about fostering an environment around housing, education, strengthening our neighborhoods and public safety, transportation. All of these things help grow our population. But it's also important that we preserve legacy, long-term Detroiters that have been in this city. I think there's so much of a focus sometimes on how we attract people to Detroit that we forget about people who have been in their homes 30, 40, 50 years and are still looking for support and resources. And so a part of growing our city, being a welcoming city, is also how do we protect those that have been in this city. And so I think it's important that we create intentional policies that protect legacy Detroiters, those that have been in their home, whether it's home repair grants, whether it's assistance with beautification projects in our community, but are really protecting and building our middle class and those that have been here, which we will do and will continue to do. We have done and will continue to do.
Thank you, Mary. All right, Jonathan, I'm gonna move on over to you.
Yeah.
Flip it on.
Me and Tom keep on saying, making eye contact so I don't waste all my time like I just did. You're welcome. Remember the flood in Southwest Detroit?
Yeah.
Did you see or did you hear anybody go down there and really advocate for those individuals?
Yes, yes.
Most of the people. Hold on. I'm saying leaders. I'm saying leaders. Okay, so get this. When I went down there and talked to DHDC, when I went down there to the rec center, I didn't see anybody. When I went to Richard Coleman over at the church of Burner, I didn't see anybody. And I still was asked, what's being done? If you go ask that community, the majority of the infrastructure that was set up by that community. But then when you start talking about immigration and those other things, when I went to the precinct on 4th Street, I'm standing there and a sergeant comes out the back and says, who told those ICE officers who I was? Because they were trying to go get a kid out of high school. I was at the Baptist pastors, right? They have the leader of the Baptist pastors has a congregation, a family in the congregation who's had a member of their family picked up by immigration. When you talk about making it open for everybody, nobody recognizes the Albanese, the Yemenis, or none of them. And when you start talking about preserving legacy Detroiters, you all are being pushed out. You all are not being made owners.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Excuse me, we're gonna wrap up on this topic with Todd.
Thank you, and that's a very important question. For one, as we look at the issue of immigration and look at what fear tactics that are going on in this our country, it's unacceptable. As I believe the only candidate that went to the protest last week in support, not only support of the individuals, but also I do a lot of protests as a lawyer. If anyone is unlawfully arrested, then I'm there to provide those pro bono services. So I know what it's like. But we also, going beyond that, I think what's most important in looking at it, being a welcoming city, I did mention earlier, and I knew we'd come back to it, those 295,000 black Detroiters that left Detroit, we need to ask the question, why did they leave? We need to check our history, and we understand, if we don't know our history, we're bound to repeat it. So let's look at the statistics, because it is a tale of two cities in the city of Detroit. As Mr. Durhal indicated, you have to have a city that has the basic core essential needs so that families will be welcoming to families. Because if you don't, what it becomes is a city that of the people who can afford to send their children to other places to educate themselves and not in the city of Detroit. Where we have black wealth that only increases maybe 8%, I think. And then you have white wealth and white families in the city of Detroit, it's 60% growth. That is a tale of two cities that no one is talking about. And we need to find out why. And in the city of Detroit, I never thought I'd see myself saying, we need equity, equity, equity. And we don't have it. And right now, we need to answer those questions, and a lot of them are answered in fair opportunity for employment and education. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on and talk a little bit about federal engagement. Many of Detroit's most pressing challenges, affordable housing, infrastructure, environmental justice, voting rights, rely heavily on federal support. With key federal programs such as HUD increasingly under attack or at risk of budget cuts, how do you plan to proactively engage with the federal government to protect and expand resources for Detroit communities? I'm going to start with you, Mr. Durhal, just to give everyone an opportunity to start first. So we'll start with you.
Thank you. We will be in Washington as much as we possibly can, trying to urge those resources and deliver them back here to the city. But it's going to be important to work in collaboration with some of our partners right now, our congressional delegation. Folks from our U.S. Senate. We've got a great relationship with U.S. Senator Slotkin right now. And we're going to have everybody, even our county, even our state, boots on the ground. So goes Detroit, so goes the state of Michigan. And this is what we're going to have to bring to D.C. But I think it's also important to note that we're going to have to work closer with our state government here in the city of Detroit. I don't necessarily expect over the next 3 years to get a tremendous amount of support from the White House in D.C., and that is just reality. We will work as hard as we can to be able to bridge the gap and agree where we can agree, but we're going to have a greater relationship with our state partners, and that's why I talk about that legislative experience up in Lansing, because you got to know and have the relationships out there to deliver back here. So we're going to have a deeper relationship with Michigan. We are going to have to look at our Detroit Housing Commission and how we put vouchers out there. We're going to have to work with some of our partners like Wayne Metro, who have a lot of vouchers, but they place folks outside of the city of Detroit, and we want them to place them inside the city of Detroit because we have a long waiting list of vouchers here. And so we're going to have those tough discussions when it comes to that.
I'm going to move to you, Mr. Haashiim, and then I'll come over to you, Saunteel.
Okay, we're in peerless times now. Everything's changing. Local economies are going to have to stand on their own merit today. The federal government is nearly $40 trillion in debt. We've got to understand the dynamic of what's happening in this country. We have to plan for the future. You must build a foundation. So yes, as mayor, I have already started to open up the channels of communication with the White House. I've already done it. I already set up a relationship, and I can actually go there. However, understanding the most important thing about change in today's economy is to be able to focus on that sector of the economy that's going to actually revitalize and rejuvenate your community. That takes a strong foundation. If you don't do that, then we're going to be in the same situation, and you're going to get the no when you go to DC or the state because everybody is downsizing. So the local economy is the most important now. Your mayor, your leadership, and your ability to bring in that diverse economy is going to make sure that we will be in prosperity, even if the country is in depression or recession. It does not mean Detroit has to be in that condition.
Thank you. Yeah, if we could just bring the microphone here, and thank you.
So as mayor, I would do what I've done for the past 10 years. As the CEO of the Heat and Warm Fund, over the past decade, I was able to provide more than $100 million in utility assistance to struggling families. One of the reasons I was able to do that was my ability to lobby and advocate on behalf of struggling families, not only in Detroit and in Michigan, but across the country. In Trump's first budget during his first term, he completely eliminated utility assistance for agencies across this country. I started a petition drive here in Michigan where we were able to collect thousands of petitions from donors, from recipients of utility assistance, and then utilized my leadership role on the National Energy and Utility Affordability Coalition to replicate that effort across the country. We lobbied Congress on both sides of the aisle. As a result, not only was the funding restored, it was increased for the first time in over 2 decades. That's the kind of coalition building I would do as our mayor, and I would bring in not only our congressional and Senate representatives, but mayors from across the country who are also being impacted by these federal cuts. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move over here. I'm gonna start with you, Jonathan. We're on federal engagement.
You all do know every September all your leaders that are elected go down to DC and they get in one room together. Who knows that? Oh, you all weren't told? It happens at Congressional Black Caucus. When all of our leaders go to DC and they get in one room and they try to do something similar to how they do in Mackinac. You never heard about it. They don't tell you all anything. They haven't brought any information, any programming, any agenda, unified or not, back to you. That's crazy. But that's where it happens at. That's where it could happen at if they were on their job. Now, what they don't understand is that the whole time I've been behind the scenes, lobbying in different areas. None of them can say that they've been in Ebenezer Church where Dr. King pastor, where Raphael Warnock is the pastor. You've been down there, but nobody knows that mass incarceration is down there housed for the whole nation. And none of those initiatives get back to us. See, I'm trying to tell you all, I play at a different level. I can go see and source anything, just like that young gentleman who retired from the firefighters, who understands clean energy. Clean energy falls under climate democracy. But unless you understand how to get to Raphael Warnock or others to lobby in Congress rather than dealing with the ones that we're trying to get out of office here, locally, then we're not going to be able to have a CEO in there that can do that job. Trust me. They don't have the relationships or the experience to really get this job done, and we're going to have a big shortfall next year.
Thank you, Jonathan. All right, we're gonna move on to Todd, and then we'll come over to you, Mary.
Thank you. What we understand is that we are going to have to do more with less. We understand that. We can't expect the ARPA funds that are expiring in 2026, and we don't expect another $1 billion loan from the state of Michigan. So I say, and I should have started with this, God bless the child that's got his own. And what I mean by that is, the city of Detroit, we have a $1.5 billion discretionary fund that we can use and we can align our resources, which is the reason why I've told many other people, I want to do a full-scale audit, not only of our finances, but how our finances have been spent, but also of our departments. Because what you have to understand on a federal level, it's going to, the cities and what DC is requiring, even though they're draconian in the way that they've done it, it is requiring us to, they know the community block grants that you get, you're going to have to be more accountable, and your departments are going to have to be more accountable with the money that you receive. We're going to be efficient. We're going to make sure that we get every dollar that we're entitled to, and to the extent that we have to go to court, I'm not afraid of any court action. I'm not afraid of any court action that would force them to the table. Because understand this, everybody understands civil rights and how civil rights came to pass. But it didn't come through legislation, and it didn't come through agreements. It came through the forced attrition that took place with Thurgood Marshall, the NAACP, through the Supreme Court. And that's what's going to happen. You've seen them have to push back, and we recognize it works, and we're going to be aligned together, and it takes leadership to do it. I will do that for the city of Detroit. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we can just get a microphone over to Mary. Round us out on federal engagement.
Yes. So my job, I believe as a mayor, is to bring resources back to the city of Detroit. My job is to improve the quality of life for our residents. And while I may not personally like who is in the current administration himself, my job is to find common ground and to bring funding back to this city. And so I am more than prepared and willing and ready to work with whomever to ensure that that funding comes back to Detroit. I have a track record already of building coalitions, of getting things done, working across the aisle to get legislative actions accomplished. We've done it with the first ever inclusionary housing ordinance that laid the foundation for $1 billion that has been invested in affordable housing in Detroit, and we'll do the same now with this administration. We're also going to have someone in the mayor's office that's tracking in real time federal opportunities, executive orders that are coming down, how they impact Detroit, and how we can make sure that we're proactively addressing and looking for federal fund opportunities. We also have to be very honest that we have to look at different ways to diversify our revenues. I've said it, we'll continue to say it, and we'll continue to fight that we look at ways to explore diversifying our revenue streams, whether it's a local sales option tax, a half penny tax, which we studied in Columbus, Ohio, who's done it, but we have to be innovative in our approach, understanding that we do have a lot less to work with. How can we generate different streams of revenue to benefit the residents here in Detroit, and we will do that.
Thank you. All right, we still have a couple more questions to get through. So we're gonna move on and focus now on environmental justice. Detroiters in low-income neighborhoods often face disproportionate exposure to pollution and climate impacts. What is your plan to center environmental justice in city development, particularly around industrial zoning and green infrastructure? I'm gonna start actually over here with you, Jonathan.
Right.
This is a topic of the future, and when they say tell the two cities, it's really the tell the two futures. That's the title of my keynote speech that I did at New Labs with the Green Urban Info podcast that I think you all should take a look at. It's led by Robert Barksdale. Let me just say this. Remember when I keep on talking about national initiatives, big topics. When you start talking about pollution, you can look at Marathon right down the street. You can look at how the incinerator polluted us for years, and we could have capped it with fuel cell technology for that methane gas to get trapped. See, when you understand science, when you understand industry, when you understand innovation, when you understand technology, when this is something that you're working with here at TechTown and at New Labs with different founders, you understand these nuances and who to go after in terms of industry. Have you ever heard of a city council member or any other leader in the nonprofit world bring industry to the city? Have you even heard of them helping to lobby with the city in order to go get more funds? Well, guess what? Look up the Illinois State Chamber. I helped them go help black mayors across the country who had populations of 5,000 or less go after more federal funds by increasing their capacity. This is what I do. And it's not something that I get paid for, and I do it all out of pocket because I'm trying to make impact. Again, I do not have to continue to play with all these platitudes that they continue to throw at you. I'm gonna give you the real.
Thank you, Jonathan. We're gonna move over to you, Todd, and then we'll come over to Mary.
Well, this is a very, very important issue, and one of the things, I was a history major in college, so understanding, I always revert back to, or go back to how we got here. We're a manufacturing town historically, and so that's what happened, and that's how we got here. And people seem to forget that the Delray community had the highest rate of cancer in the country at one point in time, and it's still high. You still have emissions from Marathon that are unacceptable. What I have learned on this travel that we're all on a journey, and on my journey I've learned, even though it's a new development, we're talking about the Stellantis plant, it is emitting, the neighbors in that area are complaining, and you know, people who have asthma and all of these things, who have conditions and pre-existing medical conditions are suffering tremendously. So what am I going to do? What I'm going to do is I'm going to lobby. I'm going to use my legal mind, I'm going to use my legal skills, and I'm going to use my team to lobby to change legislation, to force these corporations to change their emissions, to be more green. I'm also going to align, what you may not know is, you have a city councilman right now, Scott Benson, who wants to make Detroit the greenest city in the country. I'm going to do something that doesn't often happen, but I'm going to align and work directly with him, along with city council, because that's what leaderships do. You have to lead with humility. And I understand he's been leading that already. Why not partner with City Council and do these things and bring health and welfare to the city of Detroit from an environmental perspective? It can be done. It will be done under the Perkins plan. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move over to you, Mary.
All right, thank you. Environmental justice is very important to me. We know that we have some of the highest health disparities, asthma, etc., here in Detroit. One of the biggest polluters, which was the incinerator, was in my district, got elected, heard from our residents, and it's gone. It's shut down. We worked with community to make sure that that polluter was shut down. So I'm very proud of that work. I take it very serious. So we'll do a couple of things. Number one, we're going to continue to support policies and laws that protect our environmental rights, like the fugitive dust ordinance that was just passed. There's a truck trafficking ordinance that is coming before us very soon, so we'll continue to support policies and laws that do that. Secondly, we have to continue to bring environmental justice groups, industry, and the health department to the table to ensure that we're implementing best practices. Thirdly, I think it's important to hold polluters accountable ensuring that we're down zoning in areas where there is industrial sites so that community is not abutting that industry. And then lastly, I think it's important that we lead by example. So as much as we can in our fleet, in our buildings, that we're employing as much renewable energy and green infrastructure as possible. Also, as development comes, we can we can ensure and require that they employ as much green infrastructure and renewable energy within their development design as possible. So this is something that has to be a collaborative approach, and I will definitely lean on the amazing environmental justice advocates that are on the ground every day uplifting the work that's need to be done.
Thank you, Mary. All right, we're gonna move over to this side of the table. I'm gonna start with you, Mr. Durhal.
Thank you. So we will continue to do what we've done. I have a 100% Sierra Club voting record, close to 100% Michigan League of Conservation Voters voting record. And through my time that I served in the Michigan legislature, we helped pass the first renewable energy legislation that held DTE accountable to meet, meet a renewable energy requirement by 2030. On council, I've been supportive of the fugitive dust ordinance, as well as truck traffic ordinances that are getting ready to come through. I had the opportunity to represent 48217 at one time, which is the most polluted zip code in the country. Not just a state, but one of the most polluted zip codes in the country. I think we've got to continue to examine how we put pressure on a lot of our corporations to reduce emissions here. But I also think it's important for us to continue to build green space here in the city of Detroit, like the Joe Louis Greenway, expand that green space that allows for cleaner air. But we also have to talk about cleaner water here as well, ensuring that we are fixing our broken infrastructure here in the city of Detroit to ensure that we have clean water that is flowing here. And so we will work with our partners, and we continue to work with them. Scott Benson, member Santiago Romero as well, who's been a champion for environmental justice. And finally, keep the Office of Sustainability here in the city of Detroit, which was newly established, and strengthen that office, fund it more, and put more FTEs in there.
Thank you. I'm going to move over to Mr. Haashiim, and then we'll come over to you, Saunteel.
Oh, boy. Well, I'm sorry. Don't stop the time here.
Okay, so I'm one of the first original owners of Green City in Detroit. I don't own it anymore. They have other partners. However, Wayne County had a China department, and our company, we were invited to China to help solve an environmental issue. Wayne County under Fracano had a China department. I actually gave them an idea because you couldn't see the sky, the sun, you couldn't see stars at night. Anyway, I gave them an idea about fly ash and how to trap it because they burned a tremendous amount of coal. So I did an environmental delegation for Wayne County, okay? And I've been in clean energy for a long time. I'm just gonna say this. The children are sick in Detroit above the national average, and all of our state is at health. And as mayor of the city of Detroit, I will not tolerate weak leadership. We will stop this environmental warfare that's taking place in our community. It is not worth the money to see our children sick. We've had the power to change it in positions of leadership. Weak leadership has allowed for our water and air to be polluted.
Thank you. If we can just pass the microphone down for Saunteel.
Thank you. This issue is multifaceted. Yes, I support policies and laws that will protect our communities from environmental injustice, like the fugitive dust ordinance, the truck traffic ordinance, and then we have to enforce them. But also, right now, there is an opportunity to utilize funding that is available, and there's over $300 million of funding available right now for green energy infrastructure in the city of Detroit. And the reason we can't spend it is because we cannot find enough trained workers to provide those services. At the Heat and Warm Fund, we provided energy efficiency upgrades and repairs, and it was always difficult to find people who could do the work. So we need to use this as an opportunity to create more jobs, to train Detroiters for high-paying jobs in the green infrastructure industry. And we're doing two things. We can employ people in neighborhoods who have been disproportionately impacted by environmental injustice, and we can start to repair some of the damage that has been done as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on and talk about the Department of Neighborhoods. The Department of Neighborhoods has the potential to be a powerful bridge between residents and City Hall. How will you strengthen its role in ensuring community voices are central to neighborhood planning and city services? I'm going to start at the end with you, Todd.
Thank you. And there's a reason why many in the media have dubbed me the neighborhood mayor, because I am. I believe that the neighborhoods are a strength in our community. They are what makes Detroit, and that's why I've always put Detroiters first, whether it be in my practice, whether it be in my community outreach, in whatever, because it's the people that make it, not the edifices or the buildings and the business, that the people drive it. So what I believe with the Department of Neighborhoods, it shouldn't be something that an ambassador serves in that capacity. They have to have a direct line to the mayor's office. Right now, it's unacceptable. Where you call the mayor's office, you get a voicemail, and you may or may not get a call back. So that's unacceptable. But in our creation of a master plan, where we're developing the city in all 7 districts and focusing on the uniqueness and the diversity in each district, but utilizing the neighborhoods and giving them a seat at the table in the ideas of development, policing, and how you're going to form that community, including housing and all of those things. But it's going to take all of the partners to play. It's going to take those individuals who benefited, the companies that benefited most, and they're going to be required to do business in our neighborhoods if they want to continue to do business elsewhere. It's going to involve the schools, it's going to involve the libraries, it's going to involve all the players, but definitely at the core of it, it's going to be the people. It's going to be the neighborhood organizations that make up those people who are working hard on a daily basis to make sure that their neighborhoods stand out and shine. And that's what I would do. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to Jonathan.
I just want to cover 2 points and then we'll jump into neighborhoods at the same time. My plan on my website, gobarlow.com, simply says for us to reach every family. Everything that I do, make sure that we clinically wrap our services around every family and every individual to make sure they're getting to a successful place in life. The issue that I have is we're about to accidentally, if not careful, put a leader in place who has never shown themselves to be able to really complete and create impact and create full, systematic, and holistic change locally, and we're about to give them a big seat to do it internationally. And this is the reason why. I know Pastor Leon's been over here in Peabody Park doing his best, but none of our city leaders has been able to fully resolve that issue. And that's because PAL has not had the support from the community enough to deal with the parents. In addition to all that, y'all want to talk about pollution? There's an article in the newspaper. I got a school on the east side, Mac and Marcellus. They're suing Chick-fil-A and the developer for bringing that pollution into their neighborhoods because the drive-thru is going to create so much exhaust that their kids can't play right next to that 24/7. And so when you look at who your leader is, understand this. If they cannot solve a local problem, how can they solve a big problem? Arise Detroit has been the nucleus and the hub for neighborhoods and community groups. None of these leaders before have gone and held Arise Detroit and Lord rest his soul, Luther King's hand. I have. Check the track record.
Thank you, Jonathan. All right, we're going to move over to Mary. If we can back flip the microphone on. We're on Department of Neighborhoods.
Yeah, so I like the model of the Department of Neighborhoods. I would love to honestly listen to residents to see what they would like to improve about the Department of Neighborhoods. I think it has some benefits. I would love to see it more empowered to do a couple of things. One, I mean, we all know about the old neighborhood city halls, right? And so I would love to reimagine that for this day and age, where we're really bringing back city resources into our neighborhoods, creating more access points where people can walk in and talk to departments, talk to representatives for the most frequently dialed or questioned departments right there in your communities and your neighborhoods. We call them opportunity hubs. Would love to see those more within the city of Detroit. Also, I think overall improving customer service. Even with our Department of Neighborhoods and our DONs, we still have Black clubs who still have long-standing issues that they're having issues dealing with the department. So I think we can improve customer service overall and making sure that our DONs are directly working with our department heads to get issues done. Block club development is big for me. DONs, from my understanding, do go out and do that. Our office has been instrumental in ensuring that we're developing block clubs throughout the city of Detroit. I would love to see a greater focus. There's so many different blocks that have members who want to engage and get their communities involved, but they need some structure and they need some support. So I would love to see more of a focus on block club development as well. But overall, I would love to see to keep the structure of the DON, but really to have an overview of what residents want to see improved.
Thank you, Mary. We're gonna move over, to Saunteel, Department of Neighborhoods.
Thank you. I think the Department of Neighborhoods should continue, but they have to have more resources. One of the reasons they're not doing more in the neighborhoods is because they generally have two people, a director and a deputy director, who work really hard on behalf of citizens and neighborhoods, but two people can only do so much. So we have to expand the resources in the Department of Neighborhoods. And then I would like to see more city services available within the Department of Neighborhoods, especially during specific times of the year. When it's time to pay property taxes, we should have folks from the assessor's office available right there in the neighborhoods. Even during budget time, we should have people who are in the neighborhoods who can explain and answer questions about budget. And then we should partner with other human service agencies so that folks will know that on Tuesdays, if you need help with your utility bill, you can go down to the Department of Neighborhoods, and whether it's Dog or Wayne Metro, you know that they have a desk there every Tuesday where they can help you. So the services should be expanded, but that means that we need to provide more resources. Thank you.
All right, Fred.
Thank you, and I agree with Saunteel on this. Just recently in this past budget cycle, I tried to introduce and expand the number of Department of Neighborhoods or DONs here. Was defeated at the council table because there were a lot of members that did not support expanding that staff. But as mayor, I'm going to work to expand that team. 2 members are simply not enough. I have 3 community liaisons as a council member that attend as many meetings as they possibly can. But the fact of the matter is we need a greater reach into the community. We'll also reopen neighborhood city halls, not just in rec centers, but put them on commercial corridors, and they will be full service centers. So every department that folks come down to KMAC and deal with, they'll be able to walk in their neighborhood to a neighborhood city hall and get access to those departments to get their issues resolved. Another thing is we're going to upgrade our technology. We need to improve the Improved Detroit app here in the city of Detroit. So when you have a constituent complaint, you can see in real time where your complaint is, who has addressed your complaint, and that provides a level of transparency, but also efficiency and efficacy so we can solve constituent-related issues. Finally, we as a mayor will also be boots on the ground. You just cannot have your Department of Neighborhood individuals out there. You have to work directly with them. I've seen that model work directly because my father used to be over in Neighborhood City Hall for Mayor Coleman Young, who used to attend them very often. You get a greater pulse of the community and you connect with them.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to close out Department of Neighborhoods with Mr. Haashiim.
Okay, I guess about 3 years ago, when I decided to run for mayor, I came up with this neighborhood city halls, safe centers, that's in my platform, joelh4mayor.com. And so basically what I want to do is take our precinct delegates along with the neighborhood community groups, advocate groups, to be able to come together for all the issues. And then I want to meet with them monthly so that we stay on top of what's taking place here in our communities. and be able to give them the resources and whatever it is that they need to improve their quality of life. So I want to make sure that the idea of bringing our community's quality of life up, it has to start at the very foundation. And that's with the advocate groups that are in that community, along with the precinct delegates, along with the other city resources come together. So we keep our pulse on whatever is happening in these communities that need to be addressed quickly. And so we have a history of letting our problems in our communities take so long before we address them. And so that will improve the lines of communication to make sure we make change.
Thank you, that is time. All right, we have one more question we're gonna close out with in our prefab questions around community development. The community development ecosystem in Detroit works to ensure that our neighborhoods are whole and thriving. How will you work with CDAD and our members to advance the goals of equitable development, affordable and accessible housing, and neighborhood resiliency? I'm going to start down here with Mr. Haashiim, and then we'll work our way this way.
That's why it's so important that Detroit bring in this industry of housing, because this way we actually can address that issue. I think earlier I already shared we would partner with the financial institutions. If we can't partner with them, Detroit needs to have their own public or municipal bank so that we can address giving these mortgages, making things affordable, bringing in a longer time to pay that mortgage off, whether it's 35, 40, 50 years based on age. These are the type of things that will make it affordable. Having your own manufacturing facility gives us the production. We have so many factories in Detroit that are not being utilized that can be converted into manufacturing our homes, bringing money into the community, bringing money into our city treasury, which is important if you want a reduction in your real estate taxes, if you want to address redlining and all the other issues that we have in this city. It's going to take money. You're going to bring in money. And that's why we don't want any other group to take over this 200 billion plus opportunity for the people in the city of Detroit.
Thank you. Yep, perfect.
Thank you. We'll work very closely with CDAD. I swear I hear Ruth Johnson's voice in my head, community development advocacy in Detroit, because you guys are a very strong group. You come down to public comment, and you have very vital suggestions and advice that I think we could take. As mayor, I'm going to be very focused on rebuilding our commercial corridors here in the city of Detroit. So these are corridors that are adjacent to our communities, and we're going to work to create walkable communities where folks have access to fresh groceries, have access to retail, have access to a pharmacy right within the community. And I think that starts by creating what we have corridor improvement authorities. And on those authorities and those boards, we want members of CDAD to sit on those corridor improvement authorities to provide their vital insight of how we rebuild our corridors adjacent to our neighborhoods to ensure that our residents are getting access and to the things that they need to improve their quality of life. And so that's how I picture it. When those corridor improvement authorities, we want members of CDAD, folks who are on the ground every day, folks who are connected to developers, folks who are developers, having that input of how we rebuild those corridors that are adjacent to our neighborhoods. And that's what we'll focus on. We'll continue to engage them. And finally, what I would say as a mayor, we will have an open door policy. We are not going to only just have fireside chats when we talk to our residents once a week. We are going to invite groups like CDAD to the table, to sit at the actual table with the mayor, our housing revitalization department, and all our other departments to talk about how we move this city forward.
Thank you. Moving on to Saunteel.
Thank you. I'll start by saying we're always stronger when we all work together, no matter who the mayor is. The outcome is better, is stronger when we're including the people who are on the ground doing the work every day. That strategic master plan that I've talked about will start with a plan for land use, which is underway. But as we start to layer that with our plan for housing, our plan for transit, our plan for safety, we will be bringing in the experts on the ground. CDAD will have to be included. Residents will have to be included as we build out this plan. So we will partner with you all to ensure not only that what we're doing every day as an administration is representative of what our residents need, but we will be intentional and we will have a plan in place. So if and when we ever have a windfall like the nearly $1 billion that we've gotten in the city since 2020, we will have a real plan that can address long-term issues and create the kind of transformational change that we need in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna move along to Mary.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have worked with CDAD my entire time on council for 12 years since I first got elected. That will not change as mayor. I think it's easy to talk about working with organizations and supporting them, but when it comes down to those tough decisions at the council table, I've always stood with CDAD and I've always uplifted the work that you all have done. And that will continue as mayor. You all will always have a seat at the table. You will always be a part of decision making. I value what you all bring. I think it's a healthy part of making good policy and outcomes and decisions. And so I'm excited to work with you, whether it's in housing, whether it's in neighborhood development, ensuring educational system is improved, any issues that we are going to be addressing as mayor moving forward, you all will have a position and a seat and have my ear and my guidance. So again, I thank you all for the work that you all have done, being a leader in advocacy and policy that has definitely benefited our residents, and will continue to work with each and every one of you all.
Thank you. We're gonna move over to Jonathan.
We're in a crisis. We're in a crisis. And to keep on acting like we're not, I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot. I don't care how long people have been saying they've been working in front of the camera. If it's not producing results and tangible outcomes, it's not good business. We need good business and to get rid of the bad actors so that we stop allowing people to purchase comedy clubs downtown and rather help community development inside of the neighborhoods. So do your track record, do your background checks, understand who bought what and who gets paid for what. Because get this, any development or anything that's coming to the city, BC to BZA approves it. Then the appointed members who've been appointed by our leaders approve that. That's how the Chick-fil-A got there, because they tricked the community and the school into allowing it to get in there. So this is what I'll say. I'm gonna bring everybody together by reaching every family through my plan. And we only have 5 organizers or 5 directors in each city, 3 from the council office and 2 from the mayor's office. Then we have to get back to our grassroots community organizing engagement models. That means that I have to come and make sure that you all, as an organization or association, are equipped. That means community innovation hubs for one-stop business centers so that we can fast-track the development, but also so that we can have wraparound services in those spaces. Trust me, you need someone who can really get this done.
Thank you, Jonathan. All right, we're gonna close out this topic with Todd Perkins.
Yes, thank you. And this organization absolutely will have a place, have a space, but have a need in service in the community. The work that you do, more so the members that you have, are technically proficient in areas that can help those neighborhood organizations that are going to be part of the interwoven fabric of the creation of the master plan that happens. So again, I'm not here to chide, deride, or denigrate anyone. I think Ms. Jenkins' words are, we're always stronger together if we work together. But taking that spirit of working together, we can do this. And we know that we have to do this. We know that we have to align our resources, because what did I say? I hate to sound like a revolving door, but we're going to have to do more with less. And you say, how are you going to do that? We're going to do it together. I look at a professional organization like CDAD that will work with the neighborhood organizations to counsel them on issues and to help them along the way as they develop this master plan. A master plan that focuses on public safety, education, affordable housing, and economic development. And now there are a lot of other points in the Perkins Plan's 13 points, but they all start with that. And it starts with the community being at the table, but it starts with professional organizations like this that will help those communities and always have a place, an open door policy in the mayor's office. So yes, the answer to that question is yes. CDAD will be an integral player in the development and the growth of the city of Detroit. Thank you so much.
Awesome. I want to just give a round of applause to all of our candidates for their service. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing. If you do have more questions, obviously they've all mentioned their websites. You can take a look at their websites for more information. And I also just want to give a round of applause to you all in the audience for being here and showing up. Like, this doesn't happen without community. And as Anthony said earlier, we need all of you to show up and vote and make movements happen. So I just want to bring up Madhavi and Anthony to close everything out for us today, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Rihanna. Thank you to our candidates. Thank you to all of you. I feel exhausted just listening to all of this. We have some big decisions that need to be made. Before I turn it over to Anthony, I also want to thank the team. It's a team effort. Our timekeeper right in front of me, Joanna, you're great job. Thank you, Lillian and Anthony, for doing the bulk of the work. I also want to just say that, we're an organization that's 27 years old. We've been working on public policy and advocacy work on behalf of the community development sector and neighborhoods since, I don't know what year does that make it, 1998, if I can do math properly. But today is just an example of what we're able to do together. We have a real opportunity in the next couple of months to help shape a new administration, and that's going to require every single person in this room. I just want to thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Anthony with one last thing, a little request for y'all to scan that, but I'm going to ask Anthony to explain what you mean.
Well, wow, what wonderful answers to some pretty tough policy questions. And just so we all know, these candidates were on their toes. They did not get these questions in advance. So those answers were truly from the heart. So one more round of applause for the candidates. We're gonna wrap up now. We'll have a little meet and greet in the hallway, but I know these candidates have to get out of here, so we want to be respectful of their time. Real quick, we are also doing a policy survey to help shape our future policy priorities. So either on your way out, we have some QR codes on the table there, or you can scan it right up here. If you all could take some time to fill out that survey, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I forgot the one instruction I had was to let you all know that the questions we asked were the ones that they're given to us most often by you in the room and when you registered and just when you saw us. But we'll be sending every single question that we got from you all in the cards that we didn't ask to the candidates and ask for written answers. We have note takers diligently taking notes for everything that happened today, so we'll make sure to send this. Your questions will get asked. We did ask the ones that were asked most often. And I'm also asked to remind you all that absentee voting starts in 2 weeks. So make sure you're ready and staying abreast of everything. And then you'll all get some dates for our caucus meetings, which will be the council district elections. So thank you very much, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you all again. Thank you.